In this tutorial, I want to talk about the toolbar in SwiftUI, which personally I thought a little bit confusing because it offers so much functionality. Because what Apple was trying to do is give us a little bit better, well, I guess less thinking, because it automatically does the placement for us for certain items. So you see here the documentation with this view modifier. So you can place some content in the toolbar. For macOS, this would be up here, for example, this back and forward buttons, or here this export button. We also have one with this ID. This is only for macOS interesting, or more interesting for macOS if you want to have a customizable toolbar. I'm going to talk about this at the end. This is previously with navigation bar items done. Actually, previously. It's added for iOS 14 and macOS 11. You see here the app that I made for my core data, of course, because one of the challenges for myself was to create this cross-platform app. So I have here 3 different devices that I have to create this application. For a very small screen for the iPhone. So you see here as a note-taking app with folders. You go in the folder, you select one of the notes and you edit the note. It's the same here on the iPad with these 3 columns. And here on the Mac, everything is together in one window. I can also collapse this window, but some of the items that are in the for the iPhone here in this toolbar, in the navigation bar, should I say, in the top right corner, I have here a plus button and an edit button. The edit button is really just iOS, but the plus button I probably also want to have here in my Mac version. And then where should I add this? So I had a little bit of a problem because it's not so easy to know why I cannot get it here. I know the problem, so you will see the solution for this. But for example, you can place here one of these items and create a new note. Or here the search bar, going back and forth between notes if you want to do this, just going back into history. A lot of these items for macOS are also in the menu, commands. This is also a toolbar. I'm getting confused with all of these items. So for example, here under File, I can also add create a new note. If I don't mess up my app again. We're not going to touch something complicated like this. We're just playing around with basic views in the center and then seeing where we can add all these toolbar items and how it works together with navigation views. I'm creating a new project, multi-platform, because the whole point of this toolbar view modifier is that it is very versatile and automatically places the items for you at the right place. I mean, ideally, if you find out how this system actually works. So this is just a toolbar project. Okay, I start in the content view. And the view modifier that I just showed you is the toolbar view modifier. You can add here something that is a view or toolbar content. If you try to put here text, just need to resume my preview. And I have to switch to my iOS target. Otherwise I see... You cannot see anything of this extra text that I added because on iOS you need to have a navigation view. So we can create here a navigation view. And now this text appears on the text top right corner because it automatically guesses the right position. I did add the toolbar inside of this navigation view. It does matter where you place it. In some cases, not in all. Right now, if I put it outside, it doesn't show up in the toolbar. So it needs to be inside of the navigation view because it's kind of attached to this one view. If you have a stack of navigation views for each of the view in your sequence of subviews, you would have different toolbar items. So you need to pay attention to put it inside. We can also create a master view, master detail style. For example, if we create a detail view, so there's SwiftUI view, detail view, and inside here I would add a different toolbar item. So in this case I'm using a toolbar item. You can, instead of a view, you can also use a toolbar item or toolbar item group. Toolbar commands is the one that you need if you want to add it to the menu, like here. This is for me a little bit confusing. Okay, anyway, it's a toolbar item if it's one thing. So again with the placement text, this is in the detail toolbar. The preview won't show this because this detail view, as I said, this view here and the preview that I'm showing doesn't have a navigation view. So I need to add here a navigation view. And just to be safe, if you're sometimes navigation view style, stack navigation view style. This is the navigation view style, like stacks of a card that are on top of each other that you just slide out. This is the default for iOS, but for the iPad you would always see the last detail already, so it might be a little bit hard to see sometimes in the preview. Just to be safe if you switch your targets. Okay, now this is a nice toolbar thing, and in my content view I can add this, also add this as a link. So here I probably should use a VStack and then add a navigation link detail with the detail view. Okay, now this I need to run. Okay, I still have here my text. This was from the master, from the first view. Then I go to the detail and you see there's a different toolbar item. So that's why you need to, you see because of these two screens, my master and detail, I need two different toolbar customizations items. Okay, now that we have the attached two different views, this placement is interesting if you have a look at different devices. So if I now switch to an iPad, so we're moving up one device size larger. So I automatically, in this case, get this collapsible sidebar. My text that I added here in my master view and the content view, this toolbar, is directly here. If I go to the detail, this toolbar is on the second, because this is basically attached to this view's toolbar, and this attached to this view's toolbar. This is one reason why I had a problem, because I didn't pay attention to this. I mean, I just didn't know. Sometimes it's a bit hard to, why is it not where I think it is? It's really hard to find out, because it's just one level higher sometimes inside your navigation view. Okay, now let's just test this Mac. And I have an error because, stack navigation view style is not available for macOS. So just for now, because I don't want to make this more complicated with the targets, I'm uncommenting this. And it has a problem with my navigation link. I don't know why it's not. Because this is basically pretty much the same. I thought it was the same. Probably have to stop and start again, because sometimes the macOS builds don't show. Oh, there it is. It is very small, because I need to change the frame actually. And here is my view, the sidebar that is collapsible or expandable. I have here added to my master, in this case it's the content view, this one toolbar item text, and it shows up here on the top. If I open my detail, I added to the detail a different toolbar, and it's added on the top right corner. So now you see, depending on which view you attach it, you can add it on different places in the toolbar on macOS. This is also true if you have multiple columns on macOS. Just need to pay attention where you add it. Okay, so now that we have the general placement sorted out, let's talk more in detail about the toolbar items and toolbar item groups. So here in my detail, I can also add a toolbar item group. And in this case, you can add multiple things. Probably should also add something more interesting sometimes, like a button, action, label, maybe use an image, system name, plus. And it seems it doesn't like me to do it like this, so I have to uncomment at least one of them. So it kind of looks now like you can only have one, but this is because I didn't take advantage of the placement parameter. So if I instead use the toolbar item with the placement, navigation, just going to keep the same content here. So now you see it comes up a different place, depending also where in your stack it is. But what I mean is, here this placement, if you just type dot, you see all the possible things. So we can maybe look at navigation bar trailing. And now it's on the right side, on the very right side, because on the trailing edge. And you also have something like button bar. Now it's down here. This is specific to iOS. So the bottom bar and the navigation bar trailing and leading are only for iOS and not for macOS. You can also look at the documentation or just use your jump to definition, because maybe you're interested in watchOS and tvOS too. So scrolling down a little bit comes the toolbar item placement. You can just read through all of this, where the system automatically places your stuff. Then starting off with principal. So this is the most prominent position. Then the navigation. This is only for watchOS not available. Then you can have a look at primary action. This is for all of them. Status. This is not available for watchOS and tvOS. Confirmation action, cancellation action, destruction action. Keyboard, this is actually quite an interesting one. Navigation bar leading. So this is the one I said is not available for macOS. Same as navigation bar trailing. Because maybe you want to have a more visual test of where these things go. We are going to make a little bit more interactive elements now. What I mean is we're going to place a lot of toggles in the center where we can just toggle during runtime to show different items and then the combination of them. So for example, here I have now the bottom bar. So I'm creating, because I want to toggle this, I need to have a state property, private var show. What is this? Bottom bar. This is a bool and this is false. So in the center of this view, I need to have a lot of these toggles. So I need to have here a VStack. And now I can remove this actually and add here a toggle. Toggle. Title is on. So the title is, I'm just going to name them after the placement. So this is the bottom bar and then toggling here the show bottom bar. So now I actually need to toggle this. So if show bottom bar, only then I'm showing this here. Resume. So now it's not shown because I said it's not. So it's going to run this in the preview. And then if you toggle this, it comes up and it disappears. You also see it's a little bit moving up. This is because basically you have a step up there. So now we can, with this toggle, show and hide this toolbar, because I'm going to add a lot more. I'm adding a little bit of color. So I'm going to add a border, color.green, and I'm going to make this text with a border of green too. So now I know that they belong together. Can also add here a little bit of padding. Okay, I need to format this. And a padding around my VStack. So now if I show and hide this, I have a little bit better idea, a faster idea than this is it. Okay, because I wanted to also add a lot more. So, for example, the next one would be ToolbarItemGroup. Just so I have different examples. This is the same. For toolbar item, you can also specify the placement if you want to. So this would be status and text status. So now you might think this is pretty much similar to my toolbar here, but they're moving together. Basically, I probably should have used the toolbar item group here too, because then I can add here another one. Bottom bar. So I added here 3 texts and they're all on the bottom, but they're basically the first one is in the leading edge and then the rest comes on the trailing edge. So it actually it's the 2 different words here, bottom bar. Can also add a border around the other 2. So you see there's actually 2 different ones here. So if you want, you can add multiple of these things. Okay, I probably should remove the status or add a switch for the status now too. Adding a state property. Show status false. And then another toggle status. And then I actually need to hide this. So only if show status is true, then we're showing this text. Maybe I'm going to add here a background color .green, and I'm adding the same background to my toggle. I don't really need to have so much formatting. It's just because there's going to be a few more. So the status, or if I just want to have the bottom bar, we're going to go through the rest of this list. The top right corner, which I use the automatic one, I'm going to add here a placement of navigation bar trailing, and I'm using a text instead. Just don't really need these buttons. Similar, can also have a navigation bar leading, so you see them upcoming, top right and top left corners. And then we also have a navigation. This is in the center. You can choose to make this a little bit shorter if you want to see more. Just going to remove some of the text. So it's actually more on the, no, it's not super centered, it's more to the, yeah, you see what I mean, to one edge. So I'm going to also toggle this free. I'm just going to create 3 state properties for them. Let's state private var show navigation. Add state private var show navigation leading, and add state show navigation trailing, and then 3 state properties for them. I'm just going to move them on top because it kind of makes more sense because they belong to the top. It doesn't really matter. It's just me place them wherever you want now. Then we created, I need to create toggles for them. Show navigation bar trailing navigation. I'm just going to keep the name, copy paste the names because the same names that I'm using here for the placement. It's just a little bit easier for me to as a later reference. This is shown navigation. For the placement navigation, same game again. The state property is now if show navigation bar trailing, only I'm showing this. If show navigation bar leading, I'm showing this. And if show navigation bar navigation. And maybe I also add a color for this one. So I'm going to use here yellow. You really don't need to do this, it's just it's easier to see the colors than sometimes reading the text. The color dot yellow. Maybe I make the navigation one the background. And then doing the same here for the items, so they fit. This was background color dot yellow, and this was border. So they should now fit together. If I start here my navigation, you see this, and also it doesn't add the, oh, I did this here, actually the mapping was not right. Probably should keep the same. If you place them here in the toolbar, it does matter sometimes for competing elements. We see also competing ones in which order you place them, but I'm just going to use the same order I use in the view itself. It's just seeing things a little bit easier. So now I can turn off navigation. This is in the center. Navigation bar leading, navigation bar trailing, the bottom bar. So we have now this 5 elements, and I'm going to move on to the next ones. Toolbar item, placement, navigation, bottom bar, keyboard, status. Then we have this actions. Start over. The first one was principal. Text. Probably should stop the preview. This is in contrast to navigation, really in the center. Then the next one is primary action. Then the next one is confirmation action. This is going to be more interesting when we see it on the other platforms. Destructive action. Just need to make sure I don't forget any of them. Item, placement, something with action, cancellation. It's getting really busy up there, isn't it? So you see they are on the top, and you can try, if you change the order, it now moved them. So they're a little bit competing. Maybe I should make them a little bit shorter. So it just goes until A. Just going to move the A. I still a little busy up there. Again, I'm for each of these elements creating toggles, so we can turn them on and off. So add state private or show can. So I have now 4 of them, and I need 4 toggles. And in order to keep my color coding, I'm going to use maybe orange for the destructive ones. This is border color dot orange and border color dot red, and then maybe a border color dot blue. So now I'm going to show and hide actually the elements. So this is if show principal action, if show principal, if show primary. I had to name that this is not primary action, it's primary. This was with a border color dot blue. If show primary, if show confirmation action. How many did I? Destructive action. I think this is supposed to be orange or red. Probably should have paid more attention to the cancellation action. Orange. So this is now the. No, I think I forgot one toggle. Yes, I forgot show the principal one. So I'll try again. So now if I turn on principal, this is in the center, primary action. But you can also try to add a lot of them. For example, if I add here the primary, confirmation action and destructive, they want to be at the same position. And basically the order is only determined by the order in my toolbar view modifier when I add them. So trailing leading center. So now you can play with the competition here. Where you want to add these. I already said that there's a couple of them that don't work for macOS, and they are basically the ones with the bottom bar. So for if I would now switch here my target to macOS, it's definitely going to complain. Cannot find this, so we have to use some if statement. So if hashtag if OS is iOS, only then I should add this, and then after the toolbar item group I need to close this with an end hashtag endif. The same is true for this navigation bar trailing and leading. Hashtag if OS iOS, and then after the navigation bar trailing I'm also finishing this with an endif. So let's see. Won't see anything in the preview because I mean you see the this is because this navigation view has this as the main view. You see this list on the left. In order to test this, we need to run this in the simulator. So now I have some of them working, are actually not working, like the navigation bar leading. So because this is not doing anything here, and the bottom bar too. So we probably should also remove this from the list. Or here I'm going to just say only not for Mac OS to the ones that are not for Mac OS. So on the detail view you can test this and try the status, which is in contrast to iOS where it was on the button. Now it's also in the toolbar on the top right. Adding here cancellation and destructive. Oh, I did the color inverse. Confirmation action, primary. This don't do anything. And the navigation. And then try the principal. The principal is very tricky for macOS if you put it in the main one, because I don't know, it crashes for me. So principal is a little bit exception. You can also try to add these in the main view to see where it goes, and most of the stuff goes also on the top. So this text, I think, was also for the navigation. We can go back to the content view. This was... Oh, I did not actually specify this. So this, for example, is a toolbar item. Just add 2 of them. Or you can make it also with toggles. Navigation. And the status one. I need to run this, otherwise for macOS you don't see the window toolbar. So the 2 elements that I added to the main view. And the status is on the sidebar. But the navigation bar is now in the on the left side of the detail. If I add here this navigation, it's also there. Probably need to test this also with a third column where things move to. Now we explored nearly all of them except the keyboard placement. I could add this here, but maybe it's a little bit too much. So I'm creating here a detail view, another detail view, SwiftUI view. This is my keyboard example view. So I'm going to add here keyboard. Actually, I need to have a text field because otherwise there's no keyboard. So I'm using here a VStack, then a text field, which does need to have a binding. So add state private var text. This is a string and starting with an empty one. Binding this here to this text fields. Text field style, rounded border, text field style. Just like to do it because then I see what I'm actually, otherwise you wouldn't see the text field since it's empty. So now we can add to this stack. Oh, I'm still in the Mac. Just going to go back to iOS. I can add here a toolbar with a toolbar item. Maybe we use the item group because in this case you probably it's quite nice to add multiple. And I can just check keyboard button. Going to actually do something, just adding here a done. Actually I have to run this. And this is only for iOS 15, so this is quite new. I don't want to make this more hard on myself right now, so I'm changing the target to iOS 15 and also to macOS 12, if it does it. Okay, now if I want to actually run this, I need to add this view to my hierarchy. So in the content view below my navigation link thing, the first one, I'm creating another one. Keyboard with the destination of my keyboard example view. Go to my keyboard. And then I need to Command K if you don't see your keyboard. And actually I need to add something here to this placement. I don't know why I forgot this. So the toolbar item group has to have a button with actually a label, otherwise you don't see anything. So now if I tap on this text field, you see the keyboard, everything's normal with some suggestions. And there's this one new button that I added. For example, except here a button that doesn't do anything, you could have some keep reference to what the user did before and then give them suggestions. Like if it's email text field and maybe he wants to use another something else, like select. Okay, that's probably not the best example, but if he wants to write an email, you just keep track what the last email was that the person selected and then show this email address there. And then append this or add this here. So in this case, the button says this thing, and if you tap on it, I'm going to append this to my text field. So I can append this to my text field, and I can actually press this multiple times to append this, so you can have different suggestions down there if you want. In order to dismiss this keyboard, we need to use something newer, which is the focus state thing. But I'm not going to do this right now. This is just one example of this keyboard. And I'm not really sure if it works properly on the Mac. Yes, it seems to not like it. I think they changed it. Okay, I don't know why it's complaining. because it's supposed to be for macOS. On the other hand, so what this does, it's adding it to the touch bar on the Mac. But since like the newest MacBook M1s don't have a touch bar anymore, maybe they're going to get rid of it, and it's not that interesting for macOS anyway, because I'm not really sure where they added then. So just a little speciality for this. Okay, I need to move back to macOS now, because the last thing I wanted to show is how to make the toolbar customizable for macOS. So I need to go and fix this, whatever you want to do. It's not giving me suggestions I don't like. Okay, this whole view doesn't make sense if I'm on macOS. So under the target membership, I'm going to uncheck here macOS, which means that this file is not existing for macOS. Now it's going to complain in the content view because it's not going to do it. Yes, cannot find. So now here I can use the hashtag if OS is iOS, and then hashtag and if, and see if it's going to. No, we are back. Okay, now we can talk about how to make this customizable. And in order to do this, at the very beginning I said we have different toolbar modifiers, and the one that is the one to customize, you see here, populate the toolbar or navigation bar with the specified elements, allowing for user customization. So this is what I want. I mean, I only have one ID. If you have multiple toolbars, my toolbar, let's see where this happens to go. Then in the toolbar item, I have here one with ID, placement, and this is the one I actually have to use. The idea behind this, you kind of have to, because the user wants to put it places, it's like a list. If you think of the list, they also have IDs, because the system needs to be able to identify what to move and how to know which one. Yeah, I guess they also store this in the user defaults to keep track of this for the next time the application launches. So anyway, it's the ID placement shows by default. So I don't know, this is navigation, placement is navigation, show per default, yes. And then the text, I'm just going to modify this. Since I'm macOS, it's not really useful to have the canvas. And then maybe I'm adding another one, toolbar, item, ID placement. This is status, placement, status. This one I'm not showing per default, false. This button, just going to uncomment this here, or remove this part, and see if this is enough. So you see, this is the navigation bar, the toolbar item with the navigation text here that I added per default. There, per default. The other one was not per default. And now if you right click or two finger tap on the toolbar, this little menu comes up with saying icon and text. Actually, I didn't add an icon. Probably should also do this. Anyways, here's also customizing toolbar with this editor. Now I have here these two toolbars and also the status one that previously was there, so I can now move it, I think. Yes, and it's there. I guess I can also put it there. This down here is the default one, so you can just drag this and it restores the default value. Text only, maybe just going to, probably should add an icon so you see this, these ones. So a label, status, actually I want to have a system image of, I don't know, going to choose person dot circle, probably not going to exist. Okay, and now I can use icon and text. And then I have to actually add this customize toolbar. And here my status one doesn't have a little icon on top, so it's there. Just or I move it here. Well, that the whole point was to have it customizable. These here that I added in my detail view, they are now not customizable because I didn't add for this one's this ID thingy. which kind of destroys my whole flow, because I have now some that are identifiable and some that are not. So I guess I probably should also add this ID stuff for my detail view. But yeah, I don't think this is useful for iOS with the identification here. So it doesn't hurt to actually add it if you want to. So there you have it. You can just use this as a reference guide for the future when you're not sure where this should move or why some of them don't appear sometimes. Maybe it's because you have competing toolbar items, or if you use the principal one in the main view, it crashes. So you can take advantage of placing items on the toolbar, on the navigation bar, on the top area. Keep in mind that also your title will go there, so it's getting a little bit more busy. You have down here the status and the bottom bar for iOS. For macOS, all of the items are actually on the top, on the toolbar, on the top of the window, which, if you put it up correctly with IDs, can also be customized. I hope I could shed some light in the confusion of toolbar and where this is. Mostly you should think of a combination of navigation views with this toolbar. So similar features would be navigation bar title or style. If you found this video useful, press the like button so other people can also see it. Until next time, happy coding!